Welcome to Walls and Wire. Today we are focusing on Datuk Akmal, the UMNO youth chief, and this recent challenge he's put forward, a very public challenge against the prosecution team.
Yeah, it's quite pointed. And it's not just, political noise. It really centers on what he sees as a legal inconsistency, how different cases are being handled.
Right. The core issue, as he's framed it publicly, seems to be all about timing, doesn't it?
Exactly. It revolves around this discrepancy. He's basically demanding to know why the owner involved in that inverted national flag incident, why they haven't been prosecuted yet. He wants a clear answer from the prosecution, specifically the deputy public prosecutor.
Okay, so let's break down this argument he's making, because he laid it out quite clearly on his social media, didn't he? From Bukit Merdajam.
He did. He stressed that the police had already confirmed something crucial,
Which was?
that the investigation papers for that inverted flag case were actually complete, finished.
And handed over, presumably.
Yes, handed over to the deputy public prosecutor.
Right.
Now, in our system, the police investigate, they gather everything, build the file.
Right.
Once they say it's done, it goes to the deputy public prosecutor, who then decides, acting for the Attorney General's chambers, whether there's enough to charge someone.
So Akmal's point is, if the file's complete, it's been handed over. Why the silence? Why the stagnation on something like the flag case, which is pretty sensitive publicly?
And that's where he brings in his own situation to draw a contrast.
Right. This is where the double standards accusation comes in. He says his own case was handled very differently.
Very differently. He argues his was fast-tracked, pushed towards prosecution aggressively, even when, according to him, the necessary documents weren't all in place.
So it forces that question. Are the rules applied differently depending on who's involved?
Precisely. He's trying to spark a debate about procedural fairness. If the standard procedure requires a complete file before moving ahead, then why, he asks, was the inverted flag case seemingly stalled? And conversely, why was his file allegedly rushed through while incomplete?
And he didn't just imply it, he stated it directly. I think we have the quote here. He said, "My legal team is ready, but the prosecution only provided partial documents."
Yes, and then the challenge.
If so, I must ask, is the inverted flag case also missing documents? If yes, then why was my case directly prosecuted despite incomplete files? That really shifts the focus, doesn't it? Away from his alleged offense onto the prosecution's process itself.
It does. It's a move designed to force transparency, or at least some kind of public explanation about how decisions on urgency are made. But, to really grasp the tension here, we should probably look at the actual charge against him.
Good point. While he's criticizing the handling of one case, he's actively defending himself in another. So what's the specific charge? What are the prosecutors accusing the 37-year-old Datuk Akmal Saleh of doing?
Okay, the charge itself relates to a video. It was uploaded on August 11th, around 3 p.m.
And the content of that video, specifically a statement within it, that's the problem. It was about the inverted flag case, but the language used, it escalated things.
It certainly did. The allegation is that Akmal made a public statement, essentially threatening that if the Attorney General's chambers didn't take action against the shop owner from the flag incident, he would, and this is the key phrase, personally teach an old man how to correctly hang the flag.
Personally teach. That phrase is the trigger. How does the prosecution get from teaching someone about flag etiquette to a potential criminal offense, like a public order violation? That seems like a leap.
Well, this is where the specific law comes into play. They're using Section 505B of the Penal Code.
Okay, Section 505B, what does that cover?
It addresses statements made with the intent to cause, or which are likely to cause, fear or alarm to the public or any part of the public.
Fear or alarm.
Whereby someone might be induced to commit an offense against the state or against public tranquility. Public order, essentially.
So it's not about literal teaching, it's the implication, the implied threat behind the words.
Exactly. The prosecution's argument seems to be that, given the context, a really sensitive issue involving the national flag, that statement wasn't just, an offer of civic education.
Right.
It's being interpreted more as an implicit call for, maybe vigilante action or some kind of direct confrontation, sort of suggesting that if the authorities don't act, he and maybe his supporters might step in.
Okay. So that interpretation of potential incitement is what brings it under Section 505B.
That seems to be the legal reasoning, yes. Framing it as potentially causing public fear or inciting actions that could disturb public order.
And if he is found guilty under that section, what are the potential consequences? It sounds serious.
It is quite serious. A conviction under Section 505B carries a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison, or a fine, or potentially both. So it definitely highlights the legal risks involved when political rhetoric crosses a certain line or is perceived to cross that line into incitement.
Okay, so now let's bring it back to his original complaint about slow processes and documentation, because there's a real irony here now, isn't there?
There absolutely is.
The very issue he was raising, incomplete documentation delaying things, seems to be affecting his own case now. What was the latest from the Bukit Mertajam Magistrates Court?
Well, Akmal's case has been adjourned, pushed back to November 10th.
And the reason given?
The reason cited was specifically for the prosecution to complete and provide all the necessary documents that his defense team needs to prepare their case.
Wow. So the prosecution, who he accused of fast-tracking his charge with incomplete documents, now needs more time because the documents are incomplete.
It certainly creates that narrative, doesn't it? It gives him a perfect platform to double down on his claims of procedural unfairness.
It really does.
Look, the prosecution needing full documentation for a fair trial, that's standard procedure. It's necessary. But Akmal is seizing on the inconsistency.
He's asking, if completeness is the standard now for his politically charged case, why wasn't it seemingly the standard for the inverted flag case much earlier? Especially if the police work was reportedly done.
Right. Why the apparent difference in urgency? It naturally fuels speculation about whether procedures are being applied evenly.
And that kind of perceived inconsistency is what grabs public attention, makes people ask questions about whether political factors might be influencing legal timelines. But through all this, facing the charge, the delays, Akmal's own stance seems pretty firm, doesn't it?
Oh, very defiant. He's made it clear he's not backing down because of the charge. He stated he's going to face the judicial process head-on.
So he's framing it almost as a political battle fought through the courts.
It seems that way. He's signaling he intends to fight it vigorously, regardless of how things play out legally.
So, stepping back, what does this whole episode suggest about, well, the bigger picture? The core question Akmal raised is still sort of hanging there, isn't it?
It is.
Why the long, unexplained delay in the inverted flag case versus the apparent speed, initially at least, in his own? This contrast in urgency, what does it really highlight?
I think the main takeaway here is the critical importance of, well, institutional consistency. It's vital. When you have a public figure, it doesn't matter their political leaning, who can point to two seemingly similar public order issues.
Like the flag case and his own statement.
Exactly. And show they're being processed by the deputy public prosecutor at such drastically different speeds, it inevitably creates a perception that maybe external factors, political sensitivities perhaps, are influencing the timeline.
And that perception erodes trust.
It absolutely can. Maintaining public confidence really requires the legal system to demonstrate clearly through its actions that procedures are applied the same way for everyone, uniformly, regardless of who is involved or how politically sensitive the case might be.
Transparency and consistency. Those seem to be the key principles at stake here. We've laid out Akmal's challenge, the details of the Section 505B charge he's facing, and the procedural twists in his own trial. Now, we'd like to hear what you think. What's your take on this inconsistency in prosecution timelines that he's highlighted? And what might the implications be for the judicial system? Remember to like and subscribe for more videos like this.